Odendahl has the ball for South Africa. And here we go. Kloppers to Hugo and back.
And Kloppers immediately showing us a taste of speed that she can put out, and that aerial entry we expected to the circle, and you don't get much closer to the post than that, Steve.
Well, the pass was perfect for Van Dijk, and you see the height advantage that she has over Liz Ellis. Some 7 or 8 centimetres, so Liz is really going to have spring in the legs. Wag at wing attack, which has really created some interest and talk.
It has. I'm looking forward to seeing how she performs, but it's not something that is entirely unexpected. Many of us thought last year when the goaling wasn't there that she'd be an ideal candidate for wing attack, but this is her first official outing.
And the penalty up the court for South Africa. Kloppers to Hugo. Odendahl.
Steve, South Africa with an immediate presence on court. They really fill up the space, as does any dominant team. And we've spoken so much of Australia's speed, but I think well matched for speed is South Africa.
Cusack. Wag.
Basson doing a reasonable job then, but against one of our basic coaching principles in Australia, she did most of her work back to the ball, and for us that would be a chance to put the ball straight across her head. She did maintain Wilson on the dodges quite well, though.
McInnes gets a big cheer for getting a hand on the ball and stopping the South African drive, but they lead 2-1 after a minute and a half. It was Halgren, this girl, who took the rebound.
Well, it's an aggressive start from South Africa, certainly not a timid first few minutes.
So welcome our friends in New Zealand watching this match. I hope that you're enjoying it, and of course South Africa on their way to visit you after they've played the 3rd test here. 3-1 South Africa. Mara Meljurish, the manager, on the left there with Jill McIntosh and Kath Harvey. Jenny Borlase. And they have to be worried by the very confident start made by South Africa.
Well, I was watching the warm-up, and they were confident and very disciplined in the warm-up, so that's always a good indication of a team that's ready for the challenge.
There's a very high ball Hammond attempted to put in for Van Dijk. Here she is again.
And in the short space of time they've been playing, it's quite obvious that Van Dijk is difficult to contest in a one-on-one situation. You see the height of that ball over the top of Ellis, so it's going to need a lot more work on the ball outside the circle.
Wilson has goaled at the other end, 4-2. Now we're set. The other aspect of Van Dijk's athletic ability is that she has a terrific vertical jump, as well as the height to start with.
Well, the comparison has been made with playing against Jamaica and having to play against Patricia McDonald, but there stops the difference. She doesn't have the elevation nor the mobility of Van Dijk. I mean, she's been quite agile in the early start, and she's been quite tested mid-range shots, and she's come through all those areas.
Breaking the line, wing defence, free pass here.
Dowd very quick to put the ball into play, but Kloppers doing a good job containing Wag.
Australia back to 3-5. Hugo. Kloppers. Well, Odendahl misread that. McInnes to Wag. Cusack back to Wag.
Great drive from Wag to the circle, the sort of drive we normally see her take on into the circle and the post is something she can really treat the Australian team to around the circle edge.
Wilson takes the step. 4-5.
Break called against Simone McInnes.
So Kloppers comes over to take it. Hugo. Odendahl.
That was never on. The Australians containing the space on Van Dijk then, and she tried to make her way through, but the space was already held.
Obstruction ball defence, penalty here, Australia.
Halgren, it's a hand in the air, says yes, guilty. Wag winning her position ahead of Marianne Murphy.
I know it's an interesting chain of events, that wing attack position. Susie Kenny, the former Australian vice-captain, ousted from Australian selection, with Marianne Murphy, another New South Wales mid-quarter, replacing her. And then with the injury to Shelley O'Donnell, who's undergone back surgery, the replacement becomes Katrina Wagg again from the New South Wales team, so they're almost replacing each other.
Timing at the centre pass, a little astray for South Africa, so they conceded possession there. And Australia hits the lead. The South African bench, Eleanor Melk on the left, and Elise Kotzer. So they have a squad of 12 here.
Cusack free on the baseline. Basson-Court astray, watching the feed, not realising there was so much distance behind her.
Again, a strong rebound from Halgren. Hammond. And Odendahl caught offside, stepped into the centre, stepped into the circle.
And Australia showing that once the ball's within circle range, they're going to drop back to put a 2-on-1 on Van Dyke.
Dalwood. Contact against her. So 6 minutes gone, 6-5 to Australia. And no goal. Jill McIntosh. She has to be really feeling it in the early stages of this match, with South Africa giving as good as they're getting.
Well, it's not the intro you'd want as a new coach on the bench, no. I think there's easier ways to start out your coaching career as national coach. Misunderstanding, then Wagg misreading Cusack's move. Ball sprayed across the baseline. South Africa in attack.
Wagg has the height on Kloppers, but only fractionally. Both very athletic players. Odendahl had to get rid of it, did well to pick up Hugo, and Van Dyke's there.
Well, they need that ball to be on the rise to Van Dyke. That one, of course, was coming down with snow on it before it reached Ellis.
Filkey, the rebound after Hugo's miss. Wagg. Oh, great move from Wilson. Certainly gave Yorina Basson the go-by.
And watch here, we'll see Wilson test out the repertoire. Strong drive for the post, has her in good position.
Hammond.
Hugo under a lot of pressure from Filkey, which again forces the pathway to Van Dyke.
Janice McKercher resets the toss.
Interesting, Steve, penalties are 10 apiece for both teams. Penalties against the respective sides, each on 10. And in creating turnovers, again, very similar. Australia's created 4 opportunities, South Africa 3.
Wilson. And after a hesitant start, the Australians beginning to find their rhythm to lead by 3, and under 7 minutes left, first quarter. Cusack with a classic high trajectory. She gives her shots, but she's a little off target early.
Right here.
Marlene Fagner, the South African coach. She was actually here in 1991 when Australia beat New Zealand in the World Championship final. Watching, taking notes. McInnes, Wagg. Good lead out from Cusack.
Contact her against the wing attack, penalty South Africa.
That's against Katrina Wagg.
Up.
Taken by Halgren.
Pushing back, putting past the shot, South Africa.
And there's a penalty to South Africa right down in the circle for Risa Hugo. And now Van Dyke. Well, that's a soft goal that the Australians won't be pleased to have given away. Wagg looking for Cusack, who does well.
A couple of times Wagg's misunderstood Cusack's move. Although they've played together a lot for New South Wales, never in this combination across the transverse line, usually one onto the other. And whilst it might appear to many people to be an easy transition, when you cross sides of the court, particularly when not allowed to enter the circle, it's a very difficult task.
A settler for Cusack.
Great work from Cusack to keep the ball alive, and of course McInnes backing up.
Odendahl, Hugo. Hammond. Again, the classic high delivery for Van Dijk. Cusack. And Wilson.
Contact there, goal defense, penalty pass the shot.
And Tessa Halgren, who, like Debbie Hammond, is a graduate of law. I think they'll know the rules.
Or be able to contest them well, one of the two.
And Liz Ellis, of course, for Australia, is most of the way through her
We'll
law
have to
degree.
hurry her along.
Yeah. Debbie Hammond, actually, the South African captain, has a PhD in international law.
Don't say that. I've been writing to her. Now I feel very self-conscious. That was a much better delivery to Van Dijk.
Odendahl to Hugo.
Contact here against the
Well, that
wing
was a
attack,
break
South
against
Africa.
Hugo, but it's reverted now in that contact called against Katrina Wag, and that's been a couple. I just feel she's not able to find a space for herself in this opening part of the match. The attack line certainly dominated by Dalwood and Vicky Wilson at this stage.
Well, Odendahl looking to the umpire there for a call, but in her view, Dalwood got all ball.
Wag just put a few through that haven't had touch, and must be very difficult for her starting in this match. But it's just not quite happening there for Australia on that wing attack position.
Halgren to Hammond. Cloppers
That,
almost
of course,
denied
is
by
one
Wag.
of her strengths. Katrina Wag through the midcourt is just a superb defender, so a great asset in that department.
Ellis. McInnes to Filkey. Australia by 2. 2.5 minutes left, first quarter.
Again, Wag hemmed in by Cloppers. Can't quite find the first move she wants.
Cloppers has attracted a bit of whistle. Cusack. Goal counts. Just took a moment or two for the players to pick up the call from Debbie Salters, the Mutant umpire, but the goal counted.
And again, Basson caught with the back to the ball, and that's something, as I said before, we don't encourage in defence in Australia because it really leaves you unsighted as to the delivery. And it's been her undoing, and a couple of times Wilson getting the better of it.
Australians looking more comfortable now. Again, the high ball, two back on Van Dijk.
The 2-on-1 proving very effective on Van Dijk.
Wilson. Wag, good delivery this time to Cusack. It's better understanding between the New South Wales pair.
Cusack sitting on 50% for the quarter, hasn't quite hit a strap yet. Interesting that South Africa's a little reluctant to go through Hugo, even when there is a 2-on-1 on Van Dijk. Still working it to find the height.
And she turned her ankle there. I think she's okay. We hope she's fine. South Africa needs her. She's limping a bit back in the circle. Keep an eye on it. Wag to Cusack. And she's okay, I think. And generous applause from Van Dijk for the Australian goal. Cloppers. Wilson saw it coming. Yeah, but she's stepped into the centre third. Tessa Halgren. So the last 30 seconds or so as Wag makes the good intercept. Timekeeper will be up shortly.
Oh, that's great play from Australia. Just the finishing touch not there, but the approach was nice. Good deception on the pass from Cusack.
Somehow she managed to get rid of Basson. And that's a good goal to have as the timekeeper gets up. And quarter time is blown by Janice McKercher on the far side. And that was a slightly nervous start from the...
On 5 from 10. South Africa, as we were expecting, all through Irene van Dijk. 8 from 11, so a solid start from her. Not so from Hugo, though, who really hasn't been in the game to date other than a feeding role.
And a wobbly start to the second quarter from Australia. A misread there from Wilson and the feed. So Basson out to Halgren and Kloppers. The high delivery that we expected to be the dominant feature of their game. Bounce pass to Hammond this time. Hugo.
Australian attackers working deep down court on the transverse line. Both Cusack and Wag working hard in defence. I think Keely's point was a valid one. There were times in the first quarter when, despite the defensive effort from Australia, I thought the South African feed to Van Dijk was a little sus, and it'll be interesting to see whether it does hold up as the game progresses.
Halgren to Hammond and Hugo. That goes against Liz Ellis, despite the cheers of the crowd, and Irene van Dijk. Really seems to enjoy herself out there, and the word is she's a very laid-back customer. Doesn't get rattled too easily.
And she's just a babe, the age, I think, 22, so a lot of netball ahead for her.
She is the youngest in the team, at least the starting 7.
I think it's interesting when you look at the ages of the South African players. The average age is well up into the high 20s, and obviously sending a team not to establish experience, but that already has a measure of netball under their belts.
That looked to be sailing into the crowd, and up went this big arm, and the vertical jump from Irene van Dijk is really something.
Well, delight here in the elevation and the skill of Irene van Dijk, and the shot to finish.
Ellis wins the rebound, though. It's Australia by 3, intercept from Kloppers.
Kloppers had her eyes on that the whole time, just hung off in the space. And what a start in the second quarter from South Africa.
And Ellis and Filkey both guilty of the contact. Back comes South Africa. Well, they've scored the first 4 of the second quarter. Cause for a few smiles on the bench. Dalwood to Wilson. And Australia's first of the quarter. McIntosh and Harvey. And it's probably only Kath Harvey's height that's keeping her out of the starting 7 tonight, Anne. They need Ellis's height out there against Van Dijk.
She'd, of course, provide a good combination with Filkey, with whom she plays for South Australia, but I agree they need the height and a height combination back on Van Dijk. Of course, she's just as versatile on wing defence, but there you hit a brick wall like Simone McInnes, and hard to contest that spot as well.
Oh, a good touch back from Wilson to Cusack. Classy stuff from the Australian goalers.
Cusack winds up the arm, drops it over the top to Wilson. He just gets enough touch to bat it on under the post.
Ellis has picked up a loose ball at the other end. The Australians starting to find gear again. McInnes drives it through to Wilson, top of the circle.
The speed from both teams is quite tiring to watch. It really is a game with enormous momentum.
Halgren gets up smiling. Cusack. And Australia by 4. So far, the Australians have been able to repel the challenges of South Africa. Here they come again.
Basson, had she kept going on that line, would have really forced the space shut on Vicky Wilson, but just a little tentative to sew up the baseline. Watch here, she's on line but pulls out as Wilson puts a strong drive through.
Stage Basson doesn't really have the answers to Wilson when it gets down there, but few goalkeepers do. Van Dijk.
Obstruction on the goalkeeper.
Another smile from Irene. Could be a club game. It's not the way she's playing it, though. Cusack. Natalie Avellino and Jenny Borlays, the goalers who've missed out on the start tonight. It's a keenly contested position alongside Vicky Wilson.
Certainly is, and I think with all of them very accurate shooters, you often have to look to combination and use of space together. And
Renee Odendale, a little unlucky there. Almost looked a 50-50 ball. The umpire ruled Australia's way. Wag to Cusack.
Good play from the Australians, and Wag was looking to Cusack, but gave her time to recover the lead and put another offer out.
Filkey, Wag, Cusack. And the Australians playing with some fluency now as they've built the lead out to 6 again. That time the contact against Cusack. Basson, Kloppers, Halgren. Wag read it nicely to Rob, the South African captain. Wilson, happy to shoot from that range. Arlene Fagner, a little concerned, I think, about the way the second quarter has really been a repeat of the first. South Africa starting well, and Australia rolling over the top. Odendale's centre pass. Odendale again.
Contact on the goal attack, penalty here, Australia.
And the contact goes against Risa Hugo. His husband, former Springbok, 6'8", second rower for Western Province.
You said that with a look of fear in your eyes.
I think we just better say nice things about Risa.
I had every intention of doing so.
Actually, her husband toured here last year with the Western Province rugby team. And Risa has 2 little kids back home. No.
Obstruction, wing defense. Contact on the goalkeeper, penalty pass or shot.
Reason being she misses them too much. Irene van Dijk. And the other 5.
Fairly relaxed.
Harvey, Borlays, Avellino, Sutter and Murphy. They also serve who sit and watch.
South Africa will be wishing that they could just sustain the charges when they mount them, because when they're firing, they're right up there with Australia. They just aren't able to hold the momentum.
Halgren.
Signals coming from the backline throw-in from Halgren.
I have to say, Wag's having a great game at wing attack in a fairly unfamiliar position.
Yeah, she's really building as the time goes on in the game. I think the patience in the delivery and the touch now starting to come from her. The drive was always there. And look at Wag, full flight, her defensive effort outstanding.
Odendale to Kloppers. And it's the pace and the power of the passing that is troubling South Africa in the Australian game.
Well, the problem is that loft on the pass is giving too much time for the Australian speed to run through onto the ball. They really need to whip it through out of the hands a little quicker. Whilst the speed of the legs is pretty well matchable between the two, it's the speed on the pass that is weighed in Australia's favour. Just too much edge on it.
Wag.
Wilson cheating a few inches, not that she needs it with her shot. Just to make sure that's her 4th of the quarter.
South Africa, during its time out of international netball, of course, kept its strong interprovincial competition going, and they had a few matches against Namibia, but Namibia, as a country, not as strong as some of the provinces, so they really were, like their other sports, starved of international competition, and it's hard to keep abreast of coaching methods, even if you do travel and have a look.
Yes, it's one thing watching it on a monitor or watching a game live. It's another matching the bodies. I think it was the Namibian coach, though, that suggested when South Africa was back in full swing that they'd be able to dominate Australia or New Zealand comfortably.
He did at the 91 Worlds.
McInnes on to Wag. Nice touch to Cusack, who was well placed for the shot. They've got funny hands, Steve.
They do. Fat ones. So Australia by 6. 5 minutes left, second quarter. And the margin was only 6 at quarter time, so the South Africans doing a fair job of holding in this second quarter. Odendale's pass to Hammond.
Just watching the jump against Wilson's shot, there's not too much variety in the defence of the Australian shot. They tend to jump with great enthusiasm on every shot. They might do them well to vary the defence over the shot. Sometimes a lean, sometimes a hold.
Ellis against Van Dijk. Ellis with the quicker hands. And Van Dijk too close, says Debbie Soltis.
And she's still smiling. We're going to have to do something about this.
Oh, it's good to see.
When the Australian shooters are circle bound and put a dodge on, I think that's when the South African defenders get a little lost. They're right on a straight mover when the ball comes straight line down court, but once it's around the circle and it swings around and changes direction, they get a little lost.
Irina Besson giving away the shot for Wilson. Enjoying their netball, that section of the crowd. Wilson. Cusack.
And again, the reach of Haugen causing Cusack's shot to drop short.
Dalwood against Kloppers. Up she goes. Wilson.
Cusack putting the screen on for her shooting buddy.
Janice McKercher hustles back. Odendale goes back to Halgren. 3 minutes left, second quarter. Australia by 9 now. Odendale. Oh, McInnes read it comfortably. Filkey to Dalwood.
Contact against Vicky Wilson for pushing back.
And she has to stand beside. Not that Besson waited for her to get there.
Oh, nearly picked off by Cusack.
There's a lot of pressure on the South African passes in the second quarter. Up goes Van Dijk. Tough ball for her. Ellis the contact though. Van Dijk was shooting in the 90s, 90% range in her tour of England.
She's on target again tonight.
But Wilson, at the height of her powers.
Well, in this second quarter, Van Dijk the most impressive on court with 11 from 12. Wilson, 8 from 10.
Contact on the goalkeeper, penalty pass or shot, right there. Obstruction against the goal defense, penalty pass or shot, both of you.
Van Dijk once more.
Oh, the post exposed. Cusack there, no one else at home.
Every now and again, the Australians opening them right up. Odendale. Sandwiched was Van Dijk. She did well.
Great hands from Van Dijk then. Well, in patches they can run goal for goal, and in fact their opening in both quarters have been impressive, but it's the middle section where Australia's momentum builds and the combination opens up, and as you say, a lot of space being found in the Australian circle behind the South African defenders.
Besson caught with a contact from behind, and Cusack allowed the goal. A minute left, second quarter. Australia's built the lead to 9.
Contact goal defense.
And that's against Filkey, so
right here.
Van Dijk. It's a fairly flat shot, but it's coming in from a fair height. Around about 2 metres.
Yeah, it often clips the front part of the ring, but it seems to make it in the end. Great pass from Wilson to Cusack. Combination working well for the Australian shooters.
Literally a blinder.
Wilson wipes it to Cusack on the drive. 31-22.
just time enough for another goal, but not with a loose pass like that. Unless they're given the penalty, they're not. It's Australia's ball. Filkey. Contact close to the centre circle.
Oh, and
Wilson.
again, the baseline opening up for Australia.
And Wilson puts it away as the timekeeper gets up. And Janice McKercher blows half-time. And this has been a very professional display by the Australians in the second quarter after what was, again, a great start.
Umpire's just checking the centre. It'll go Australia's way.
Actually, yes. Janice McKercher changing the way it's going to happen. Wag. McInnes. Filkey. Wag under pressure from Kloppers. She draws the contact. And Besson gives one away for Wilson to have the shot. Enthusiastic defence from Elise Kotzer, who was vice-captain on the tour to the UK. In fact, the South Africans haven't named a vice-captain for this tour. But Elise was it when they played 5 matches against England. They did have one close match against England, but I think they stood off Irene van Dijk for much of that match.
Well, she's certainly crucial in the way this team operates. I mean, that's evidenced by the fact that Hugo has really had no shots in the first half of the match. So as we so often see with England or Jamaica, the goal attack often playing a feeding role and not actually constructive in goal scoring. We like to keep ours busy.
Kotzer losing out on the ball there. The Australians got the second bite. And 34-23. Odendahl looking for Van Dijk. Up went Ellis.
And the feed wasn't a good one. It needed more air under it. And this is a much better start from Australia.
Galwood, Filkey. Where? Can't go in there.
No,
just lost the handle. No. Odendahl wishing that would drop into the arms of a teammate. Had too much on it.
Immediately raised a hand in apology to the coach, which is an interesting concept. Not one I've ever had time for. Tend to bow and scrape afterwards.
Odendahl and Wag came together heavily. The Australians played on. Australia by 11. Odendahl back to Kotzer.
Oh, good positioning from Wag. I thought she was on line to that ball.
Just it looked bad for her because she was sort of behind Kloppers.
Yeah, but I thought she had a good line
first.
and she was up to the ball first. Yeah.
One of those ones you could rule either way, but not in your view.
Particularly when it's you and I. Put your rusty whistle down, will you?
Okay. Hugo works the 1-2 with Odendahl, but it goes back to Van Dijk. Irene Van Dijk.
And Odendahl would like another centre. Oh, that's a nice turn. But again, when the opportunity is there to go through Hugo, they tend to use Van Dijk.
And I think the Australian defenders just caught there. The fake from Odendahl is enough to put them off.
Yes, just pulled them off Van Dijk. They gave her a bit of room, but of course didn't have the time to get another jump in.
Kloppers back to Kotzer. Odendahl to Hugo. Hammond.
Well, that was an easy mid-range shot, but Hugo electing the pass off. And she obviously can shoot, but it's not something we've seen her do a lot of.
Stops one on the back of the head.
Hugo, the first for the match.
(35-27), 11 minutes left, third quarter. As Cusack.
Contact on the goal shooter, penalty on South Africa.
Hammond. Well, Debbie Hammond's represented a province in athletics, tennis and swimming as well. Great all-round athlete.
Well, as soon as they entered the court, you could hear people hold their breath because they're such a fit-looking team, obviously well prepared.
Van Dijk, a primary school teacher in Johannesburg.
I'd say she'd be king of the kids too, to look at that big smile.
Sure. Hugo.
Well, Liz Ellis not to be tempted by that fake. She's stuck to the task.
Wilson out. Cusack at the post. Has it now.
That's a nice down-court drive from Australia. South Africa's made a couple of charges to draw the gap, but that was nice play from the Aussies.
36-28.
Timing great from Wilson on the baseline. Almost waited till Basson was committed to the air, then put the speed down.
South Africa's centre pass comes back to Kotza. Kloppers. Hammond to Odendaal. Up it goes for Van Dijk.
Pass the shot.
And Ellis gives away the contact.
Out where she beside her. Thank you.
It's not much fun being a goalkeeper anymore, is it? There's just a lot of jumping, more jumping and more jumping.
And a lot of whistling. Out of reach of Carissa Dalwood. Odendaal. Hammond to Hugo. Against Ellis. Van Dijk from unmissable range for her.
Hammond with the ball, puts it to Hugo on the drive. She holds it up, but it's over the top to Van Dijk.
That's the Australians in attack. And there's been a call against Kotza. Wilson with the opportunity to shoot for goal number 38.
Kotza early off the mark. You've got to hold that position out of play until the ball's released. You can't move with the attacking player, so she'll probably pick up some attention for that should it happen again.
Majority of the South African players from Johannesburg, Cape Town and Pretoria.
Contact, didn't pass the shot.
A nudge from Lizzie Ellis. Great rebound though. Timing spot on from Lizzie Ellis.
Who feeds McInnes. Wag. Oh, Dalwood cops one in the side of the face for a trouble.
Hugo on the drive. Ellis sees it. Great timing.
Oh, brilliant play, Liz Ellis. Well, there's the determination of a player freshly into the Australian team. Wants to keep a place.
And was getting bored with jumping. I warned you.
Well, that's exceptional play from Liz Ellis, and I'm sure you're going to see it rewarded with a goal here from Vicky Wilson. And put that down to Ellis at the other end.
Watch Ellis, she reads it, full stretch, chases as well. Many would have given it away after the first stretch.
Maybe the play of the match from Liz Ellis. Australia by 10. 7 minutes left, third quarter. Yorina Basson to Kotza. Well, there's pressure on that one too from Wilson, with a smile on her face. Hammond.
South Africa held up in the mid-court, taking in several passes to make progression down court.
Now Hugo finds some space in the corner.
Contact, pass, shot back, goal kick.
Van Dijk. Really, at no stage has South Africa given any indication they might cave under. When Australia's got a run on, they've been able to stop it after 2 or 3 goals. And so the difference is only 8, and it was 10 at half-time. They're not going to be shaken off, and they're going to beat a lot of teams at the World Championships in Birmingham, and maybe Australia before this series is over.
I think few people expected them to win this series, but I think they've given us every reason to believe that across the next couple of years, maybe not this year's World Championships, but across the next few years, we'll see them build to be quite an awesome power. I mean, netball really needs another country up there contesting the top title, and it looks like we've got one on our hands.
Hammond. Hugo says you go and gives it to Van Dyke.
Hugo looks to the post, offloads.
Filkey. Wag, up she goes. Oh, through the hands of Wilson. Won't see that too often, but Wag backing up.
And Basson got such a shock she couldn't hold it either.
Cusack converts. Marlene Wagner. Pretty much expressionless. Odendahl. I think she's got to be proud of the effort put in by her players, though.
Good backup from Hugo and good chasing from Van Dyke.
Odendahl, Hammond. Hugo from there. Wag to Dalwood Wilson.
Oh, nice
Cusack.
play from Australia. Slick work down court.
It's a beautiful drive.
It's one of the plays of the match.
Cusack enjoyed being part of that. And toss-up between Kloppers and Wilson.
I think we should do that again.
Odendahl. Kotzer puts her arm up and gets it. Hammond.
Come and go, Kate. Pass the shot, top. Okay.
Van Dyke keeps the difference under double figures.
Again, she's the outstanding scorer for the quarter, sitting on 10 out of 11. Certainly the sort of play you'd want to wrap in cotton wool.
But again, she doesn't really need to be, does she? She's so athletic and strong. You don't have to be protected in that way.
No, I just meant you wouldn't want to lose her.
Yeah, exactly.
I think, too, quite honestly, that there's so much running around the outside of the circle. Hugo doing so much work. We lose access to her a lot because she's cut off by those moves.
Jill McIntosh and Kath Harvey. Australians have stuck with their starting seven.
Great shot, Wilson.
And maybe Jill McIntosh would be hesitant to make any changes at three-quarter time because South Africa are close enough to challenge.
I think so, and I think we've seen Australia starting to build a combination as the match has gone on, and it would be silly to change that. There are another two matches to expose players to the series. No one's moved from the bench to date, so I think it's unlikely we'll see a change. I think maybe fresh in the second test.
2 minutes left, third quarter.
Quick hands from Australia. Wilson puts it out, puts a drive on the little back step to the ball.
I think there's a step call against South Africa. Wag, Cusack. One pump fake and off to Wilson.
Nice strike from Wilson.
Cusack. They settled in a little better in the third quarter after shooting occasionally looked tentative in the first two. Filkey, lead is 10 again.
Contact goal defense coming across the shot.
Odendahl and the Australians pressing on late in this third quarter. A danger time for South Africa, having played so well through the first 13 minutes of this quarter, which they actually looked like winning. 10 the difference once more.
Well taken, Wag. She's quite powerful on the outside of that circle. Oh, and hasn't she been relentless in defense? And she claims that one as her prize.
She's had a great duel with Kloppers. High ball up for guess who, but a touch from Ellis has forced it into the arms of McInnes. Dalwood, oh, Wag and Proteas coming together. The call will benefit Australia.
It's a great duel between Proteas and Wag, both such powerful players and ample speed.
And there's an injury to Elise Kotzer. Oh, and she's not well. She's tempted to get up and has fallen to the floor again. Now, she got a knock to the head. I didn't see how this happened. I'm not quite sure. But off camera, she attempted to get to her feet and then just collapsed again. So it certainly didn't look good initially. And I'm not quite sure how that happened. It was well off the ball.
I was unsighted too. I was really just watching Cloppers and Wag doing battle. And it was really behind the back of the play.
We're inside the last minute of the third quarter.
She's receiving treatment to the neck.
And so it looks like she got some kind of injury to the neck. Anyway, the good news is she feels well enough to continue. Kotzer coming on the start of this third quarter.
Contact on the goalkeeper here, penalty pass.
Wilson with the shot. Over an enthusiastic Kotzer, and she's okay. And once more, Janice McCurch, both very strong athletes. So the stats from the third quarter.
And Vicky Wilson coming out the best on court in that third quarter with 10 from 11, 90%. Closely matched, though, by Irene van Dijk, 13 from 15 at 86%. Goal attack for South Africa. Hugo still sitting very low on the stats board, doing more the feeding role, as we've commented on several times. 1 from 3. Nikki Cusack, though, right up there with an 85%, so she's really lifted her shooting performance in the third period.
No change to either 7 for the start of this last quarter. Australia missing its first shot. Filkey intercepting the ball that was on its way to Van Dijk. Well, not too much benefit in pulling that one up. Australia was off and away. I'd like to see the advantage played there. Oh, Cusack loses the handle. Just looked up for a moment. Some umpires might have ruled a replay there. And Cusack gets the first of the last. Hammond, what do you think of the South African captain's game so far, Ed?
I think she hasn't dominated, but she's been there. I think far more dominant is Odendaal through the centre. I think she's very strong. But Debbie seems to blend well, mixing the centre court for shooters, and does a lot of the feeding. She's just not quite as prolific and as noticeable as Odendaal.
Dalwood.
Only thing I would say about the South African attacking line is what I said in the third period, that I really find a lot of the times they're so busy around the outside of the circle, they're in fact cutting off access to Van Dijk instead of leaving it open to her.
Here's Odendaal again. Hammond. Oh, Filkey from the back, and Mr. Hugo has been collected by Simone McInnes in a totally accidental collision, but didn't look too good.
Well, Filkey on track to the ball and took it beautifully in the air. She, of course, had nowhere to land other than on top of Hugo.
Odendaal. Van Dijk. Contact goes against Ellis, but now she has it thanks to some backup from Filkey. McInnes, Cusack.
Wilson needed then as everyone else was off the ball.
Well, Cusack had found some space, but the pass was headed for someone else. Now she's got it.
Wilson threaded that one through, and the crowd loves it. And watch some needlework here by Vicky Wilson. Probably the only type she does. She threads it to Cusack.
She had to bank on Cusack's hands being quicker than Kotz's. Kotzer missed it. Cusack didn't.
And the turnovers favouring Australia in this final quarter. Great drive from Dawood. As we said in the break, she's been masterminding the attack line along with Wilson, organising it, giving Wag time to settle.
I think it's interesting seeing Katrina Wag in this role at wing attack. We've seen her at goal attack and had every aspect of her game under marvellous control, except occasionally the shooting, where she looked hesitant under the post, but sort of relieved of that responsibility and concentrating on her speed and athleticism, and it's revealed a different side of her. Yeah.
Mind you, I know that she's been doing a lot of quiet work in the off-season on her shooting, and she's very confident about assuming that position for a club side, Sydney Synovus. So Super League might bring another Katrina Wag to the forefront.
Certainly gives your coach a lot of versatility if you can fill both roles.
Well, I think the one thing that remains sure is she won't be left off court.
Wilson. And 3-1, Australia leads the scoring in this last quarter. And they're in danger of kicking it home in a big way. Odendahl, Hugo, Hammond.
Oh, good stretch, Lizzie Ellis.
McInnes. Crowd very much enjoying the intercepts taken by the Australians, reading the passes of South Africa nicely. 10 minutes to go. Adelaide pair, Harvey and Borlase, in different clubs though. Contacts and Garble. And Jill McIntosh looks like she'll wait until later in the series before she gives her other five a run.
I think that's good logic. As we said, this lineup just building across the match, and it's only fair to give them the time to establish a good win and to see that win out. Good hands from Hugo onto Hammond. She offloads to Van Dyke, who's in good range.
Oh, Hammond under pressure from Dalwood.
Contact wing defense, penalty South Africa.
Ellis up. Filkey there.
Well, Lizzie Ellis has really blossomed as the game's gone on. Australia with so many turnovers in this final period and really running it home with great confidence.
Kotzer looks at the bench after the call went against her. Would you attribute any of this strong last quarter to Australian fitness? I think the South African team looks extremely fit too.
No, I think it's more a comfort in what they know they can do, and probably a few opening nerves. This is the first outing for Australia this year, and they've really only had one training camp, so they haven't been on the boards that long. They've come out of active rest, which for them is abseiling and, you know, war games. And I think it's just a matter of familiarity with the court and the ball.
Ellis again. She's having a screamer. Most of these South African players would only have played 7 tests, 5 against England and Northern Ireland and Wales, which they played late last year. So they're giving away a lot of international competition to Australian players like Vicky Wilson and Michelle Filkey, who've played upwards of 55, 60 internationals.
A nice play from Australia, well spaced from the centre pass. Wag and Cusack hugging the sides of the court, making their moves to the inside. A tidy approach.
Cusack.
And Cusack firing it home for Australia, 6 from 7, doing all the work in goals.
8-3, Australia leads this final quarter. Odendahl can't quite. Nearly ends up in the corporate box beside us.
Desperate for a drink.
Not one of those, though, I think. A lot of them are teetotalers. Cusack, Dalwood. Pretty congested top of the circle. Centimetre perfect passes. And Cusack at the post finishes.
Cusack acknowledging Wilson's pass.
Wilson. Kotzer. And Wag intercepts. Wilson for goal 59 and a lead of 20. Well, 58, beg your pardon. It is 59. Okay, there's a little discrepancy here, but now we've got it sorted, I think. So 60-39, 12-3 in this last quarter, and South Africa have stopped, or at least Australia's sped away from them. Oh, too much on that for Cusack. Irene van Dijk wouldn't have had to leave the floor. But she hasn't seen much of it this final quarter.
No, it's been one-way traffic in this last quarter. Australia really running it home beautifully, and Jill McIntosh must be feeling a tad more comfortable.
That's a good delivery for Van Dijk, and she puts in South Africa's 40th.
Footwork call against Katrina Wag. More in the laziness of the approach then, I think, than anything else. Filkey had to think about that one, but she's got one eye on the circle.
Ellis, McInnes. McInnes, Ellis and Filkey have had a terrific final quarter.
It would have been lovely had it come off. Wilson thought she'd just try for something a little fancier.
Keep pushing, says Michelle Filkey. She wants a 20-goal plus margin at the end, and the end is just 4.5 minutes away. I think when you consider that Australia was beating Trinidad, Tobago and Jamaica by 40 and 50 goals, this places unmistakably South Africa in the world top 4.
Oh, yes, I think you can expect a 3 or 4 from them at Worlds in Birmingham in July.
Van Dijk.
And I'm sure Australia and New Zealand are hoping no higher.
Well, New Zealand are going to play them very early in the World Championships in the first section of round-robin matches. South Africa or New Zealand can lose that match and still progress to the next round, but they're going to meet each other very early. Kloppers to Odendale, through her hands to Dalwood. Cusack. So Australia by 22, but the $1,000 for the Milo player of the match is going to go to a member of the losing side, and it's Irene van Dijk. His goal shooting percentage around the high 80s, 90, and she's had an outstanding match for South Africa tonight. So congratulations to her. 3 minutes left. And the Australians will be pleased the way they've driven this home. Some question marks over the lineup. Shelley O'Donnell not here. Katrina Wag filling in at wing attack and doing it with some style. Australia by 21. It was 12 at three-quarter time.
I think, too, the result's just been testimony to the depth in Australian netball at the moment. You look at the bench and you look at people that haven't made the Australian 12, all of whom are just outstanding netballers, and we can still put out a performance like this first up.
Oh, Cusack. First-class combination from the Australians. In the dying minutes, they've still got plenty of gas left in the tank. Basson beaten by the pass there.
And this
Wilson unable to
final
finish.
quarter begs the question, is South Africa dying, or is Australia really revving it up in terms of the forthcoming test?
Contact on the South Africa wing defence.
Well, it's not an easy question to answer, is it? You have to ask the South African players if they're tired, or they wouldn't say.
I think Australia, though, more comfortable in the way they're playing, able to put out their own now.
Hugo kept it in. Ordendale picks up the scraps. And the Australians first there after the touch. Through McInnes. Now Wag. Dalwood. Cusack up there.
Cusack. And just the hint of a kangaroo.
Well, they've nearly doubled the margin at three-quarter time. Hugo to Hammond. Van Dijk.
On the goal. Keeper, penalty pass or
And happily she's shown no sign of the discomfort she had with her ankle from early in the match. So plenty of food for thought for both coaches and all players to take away from this match. And the next one, the second test in Sydney on Wednesday night at the State Sports Centre, and then up to Brisbane for the third. And for South Africa after that, it's off to New Zealand for one test. Ordendale. Long ball. Intercepted again by Ellis. And Irene van Dijk applauded the intercept of her opponent. And what a finish from Cusack. And the timekeeper got up without us looking. 66-43, Australia finishing.